Hey y'all, hey. I am going to try my best to be upbeat in this video, but I am so over Mercury retrograde. First of all, I've been trying to upload this video for several days, and unfortunately, I've had to re-record. And even just in this today, I've had to re-record this a hell of a lot. I'm over it. I cannot wait till January 1st when Mercury is stationing to turn direct because baby, I'm ready for it. Now Mercury will not be out of the shadow period until January, mid-January, but at least Mercury will be picking up speed because this has been hitting me super hard. So I'm sure some of you, especially with Cancer, Capricorn degrees, are feeling my pain. So let's talk about this video. As you can see, there are several people here that I want to discuss. We've all seen the stuff that's happening with Diddy and other people in the industry. And so I wanted to look at some charts of people who were convicted, people who have gone through this public scrutiny in the past to see what was going on in their chart. Now, I'm not saying anybody is guilty of anything. I'm not condemning anybody. I'm not doing any of that. We would not do that in this video. I'm not even going to compare charts in no way to show, oh, this person is a sexual predator. So that means that this person must be. I'm not going to do any of that. That's for the courts and everybody to do that. I'm not here to do that. But I do want to see what's going on or what was going on in those charts at the time of their public fall, public humiliation, their fall from grace. I do want to take a look at that because you will see that there are some interesting things that were occurring during this time. So let's get into it. Bill Cosby. Now, Bill Cosby, his case was overturned, but I want to take us through what happened and look at his chart briefly to show kind of what was transpiring during that time. So Cosby was arrested and accused in 2015. At that time, Uranus here was going over his ascendant. Um, Anytime Uranus is in the picture, there are sudden, shocking events, sudden changes, and depending on how you are feeling or how you're familiar or comfortable with Uranian energy, that can bring some serious shocks or shifts. Um, it's usually very quick, it's sudden. So it's not like something that you have been working on. It's just kind of like, whoa, did that just happen? Like, wait a minute. But you're suddenly thrust into something, and with it being on your ascendant, that's of your physical body, that is how you are, your mask, how you are in the world, your public persona. So that was obviously being hit there. Then we have Neptune here. Neptune is opposing his natal moon. And those are some emotional things that's going on. But two, the moon is also in his sixth house of daily work. So we know that there's something going on there. Then we had Pluto that was conjunct his MC. It already crossed that. So we know that there was some shifts happening in his career. But notice Pluto is going to oppose his sun. So that's coming up to oppose his sun. Okay. So a lot was happening in Cosby's chart to maybe show, wow, there's a lot of things going on here. And if he was my client, I would talk to him about, what he was doing, what he was involved in, like kind of what's happening behind the scenes, right? Because he would know what's going on or what he's trying to do. And I heard that he was trying to maybe buy in NBC or something. I'm not sure. But there were some business relationships that I think he was trying to develop or some moves he was trying to make. So we see all of this stuff happening. So that would give me some indication that this is going to be a major time period for him. So if we look back a little bit further, though, Saturn here had opposed his Venus. Uh, had opposed his Venus the year before. And Venus rules his seventh house. So I would talk to him about those business partnerships. These are open enemies in the seventh house. So we would talk about, what relationships are you trying to work on or work through? What business partnerships are you trying to make happen? So yeah, and it's in the second house of money, so that that's about your income and those type of things. So yeah, we would have definitely talked about kind of what was occurring. I would suspect that that Saturn opposition was probably the catalyst to all of this. Another important thing to think about, I think I moved this slide. See, Mercury is I'm telling y'all, it's tripping. I didn't move it to the next slide. But let me finish my thought. um, I can't even remember what the thought was, so we just gonna keep it moving. I am so sorry, y'all, but this is Mercury in effect. Here we go. So, um, as I said, Saturn was, opposing his Venus, and at that time, so I would say that was the catalyst to, what was going on. So let's fast forward to 2018, which is when he was convicted, I believe. Um, and Pluto, right, has now gone over his sun. And so that's the sun is you, it's your core, it's your essence. It's in his fourth house, so obviously affecting his family and career life. And I have that um, Jupiter here was conjunct Mars. Now, Jupiter brings blessings. I wouldn't think that would be a big deal, but in this case, it is Jupiter exaggerates. It can bring blessings, but it can exaggerate things. It can make things bigger than what it should be. Mars is opposite Uranus here, so that is that energy. I always tell people with that energy, be careful, because that's a reckless or restless energy. In a whole sign chart, Mars will be in the eighth house. You can go look up the eighth house and study what that can indicate. So he had some things happening. Um, I do see the Saturn here. I do see the Saturn here close to that MC degree. And I believe this is what I was going to say in the last slide, is that when Pluto was, going over this, the MC ruler is Saturn. Saturn in his natal chart, which is on the inside of this, is fallen. So it doesn't mean that he wouldn't have fame. It doesn't mean he wouldn't have success just because your planet of life direction and career is fallen. But that can indicate some situations in the career, some problems in the career. Um, in a whole sign chart, this would be in the first house. So that might save it from this 12th house energy here. But in this Placidus chart, it is in the 12th house. 12th house, I don't want to say, oh, it's prison. It is. It's prisons. It's isolation. It's hidden. But it doesn't mean anybody with 12th house planets are going to go to prison or be in prison. It can mean a number of things. But in this particular situation, he did go to prison for a short period of time. So we can see that type of stuff happening in his chart. And you will hear me say this quite a bit throughout this video. This MC here, this is your career, life direction point. This point, as well as the 10th house ruler, because your MC and 10th house can be different. Sometimes they're the same, but a lot of times they are different. Those two planets are going to be extremely important when there's life direction changes. So it could be when a career shift, when your um, status changes in the world, right? So you can become a mother, or you become a father, or you become a CEO. Your reputation or your status in the world shifts when there's something that goes over this point. Now, when this case is overturned, I didn't do a chart for that one, but when this case is overturned, he is having his Uranus return. So Uranus here is now coming up to his natal Uranus. Um, and Saturn, I believe, will be squaring that point. So I think it's in Aquarius at the time and is squaring that point. So that definitely shows a shift there. So yeah, it was just interesting to kind of see this play out in his chart and things that can happen. Now, if you go back and look at your chart and you have some of these same planets, you're obviously not going to have the same situation as Cosby. Every chart is individual, but it does point to, oh, there's some things happening in this area of life, or oh, this could happen, or this is how you may handle this energy. Okay, so let's keep going. Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, I believe he was a billionaire. He ended up killing himself, I believe, after he was charged again. And so we'll get to that. But in 2005, he was initially charged with some sex crimes. And the transits at the time, Saturn was opposite his Mercury. Now, I will be honest. Many years ago, if I would have seen transiting Saturn opposite Mercury, I really wouldn't have made a big deal about it. There was some thinking stuff going on, right? Some decisions you had to make, or, some decisions being made for you, but I wouldn't have thought much about it. But as I've gotten into traditional astrology and have learned that, and I'm more into the rulers of houses and making sure I really look at that, this made so much sense. So Mercury is the ruler of his midheaven, his MC, and it's the ruler of his seventh house. So Saturn opposing that indicates that mm, what you've been doing, is about to come to light. Your reputation may change. Some things may be happening because it is hitting this natal point. So Saturn is father time. It's what you've been putting energy into, what you've been doing is going to come out. So if you've been putting in the work, if you've been, really trying hard, there will be rewards and benefits to it. It doesn't mean that every bad thing you've done is going to come out, but obviously something as horrendous as what happened with him, hey, it's time to pay up. It's time to pay for this. So that was the time that he was initially charged. 2008. This is when he was convicted. And this was interesting because remember before Saturn was opposite Mercury, which is the ruler of his MC, Jupiter is conjunct Mercury. Now, Jupiter, remember I said, is blessings, abundance, prosperity. It's all this good stuff, or it can be. Jupiter can also be overindulgence, excessiveness. It can get you in some trouble. Let's look at something. Jupiter here is fallen in Capricorn. So it's not working at a at an optimal energy. So although it's there and it created some sort of protection, that's another Jupiter word, it didn't keep him from everything, but it did soften some things. It definitely softened the blow. So he was convicted and he did go to prison. However, he was not charged federally at this time, and he was able to like get out of jail and go work, I believe, still, and then come back to jail when he finished working. It was, I mean, yeah, he got a break. He got a break for that. So that was Jupiter working. That was, it didn't get him completely out of trouble, but that was Jupiter working. So that was interesting to me. But let's fast forward. You notice I keep talking about this Mercury. 2019. Charges were brought against him again for the charges that he had back in 2005. Now, I didn't go into detail to research exactly what they charged him with again, but I know there was some shady stuff that kind of happened with the deal that happened in 2008. But look, y'all, Mercury is being hit again, but guess by what planet? It's being hit by Pluto this time. Now, I don't believe Saturn, you know, I should have looked. I don't remember. I don't think Saturn got back to 21 degrees. During this time, it may have, but Pluto was definitely there, and it's going back and forth over. If Saturn's there, that would make sense with the suicide, because that can be depressive thoughts. Um, Mercury is burned by the sun, so it's debilitated. Okay, so not everybody's going to have these type of thoughts when they have Saturn um, conjunct Mercury, but this is what was going on in his chart. Also, Neptune, I'm sorry, Neptune here was going over the IC, which is obviously affecting the MC. Okay, Neptune is dissolving. Neptune can also bring those thoughts that, can be, depressive, deep, just, it can indicate, I've seen this before where there's like a transition when there's this planet on the IC. I don't look at death. I don't look at, if somebody's going to jail per se. I don't predict any of that type of stuff. But sometimes when you see it, it makes you wonder. And then it has happened. But some astrologers do look that deeply into it. I don't. But this Pluto on Mercury makes sense for what was happening. If you get Pluto transits as well, that can also create those type of thoughts. Pluto is hard because it's tearing down to rebuild, and if you're not used to Plutonian energy, whoo, honey, it can take a toll on you if you're not ready for it. If you're not prepared to work with that. So that's what was going on in his chart. Let's keep it moving. R. Kelly. All right. So as you notice, I had birth times for these three that I just went over. Or I'm sorry, this is the fourth one that I've gone over. So this makes it a lot easier because I'm telling you the MC is crucial in all of this. Transiting Neptune was conjunct Saturn in 2022. Now I only looked at the conviction date for R. Kelly. Now in the past, I would have looked at Neptune on Saturn. These are generational planets. I mean, I don't know, but because now I'm looking at what it rules it has really made a difference, y'all. It had just taken things to a whole nother level for me. Neptune is conjunct natal Saturn, which is square natal moon. Saturn, guess what? Rules the midheaven, the MC point. There we go again. There we go again. Pluto was here, but it did not cross it at the time. But what's interesting is Pluto is crossing it now, or will, and it's going to cross it 3 times total. So I am curious to see what is about to happen, if anything, if something more is about to come out regarding R. Kelly. Um, like what's about to happen with him, if anything. But this is hitting his MC point. So that's a significant shift in his reputation. I don't know if much worse can be done, because I don't know what more can come out that we would just be like, whoa. But we'll see. We'll see what's happening. Uranus is now going over the ascendant. Remember, that's what was going on with Bill Cosby. Um, at the time of his conviction, I believe. So these two transits are happening on two major points for R. Kelly. So that'll be interesting. But at the time of the conviction, you had this Neptune there, and it was dissolving. It's dissolving his career. It's dissolving it. So let's see here. You see the natal moon is in the 8th house. There we go with 8th house stuff again. Okay, so I thought that was interesting. We'll have to watch and see what's going on or what's about to happen with him. Okay, so I thought I had gone over this one already. So see what I'm saying, y'all? Mercury retrograde is just getting to me, because I thought I did his chart already, but it was, yeah. So this is, I believe, the 4th chart. Anyway, Harvey Weinstein, ex-film mogul. He was convicted of sex crimes. In December of 2022, he was convicted. We had Saturn conjunct his IC. Okay, so anytime these points are hit, the IC or MC, that's the home and career, home public life being hit. So some changes could be happening, and if it's hitting a career, like a planet in your chart, a personal planet, that's even more like, whoa, what's something serious is about to go down. Transiting Uranus is here, or was here, going over his descendant, okay, which was oppose his Mars. Transiting Jupiter was conjunct his Sun. Now, this was interesting, because remember I said that Jupiter can give, you know, uh, some type of protection, or, things may not be as bad. This Jupiter is in its own sign. It did nothing for him. Now, I'm assuming because he had all of this stuff going on. I mean, he had, Saturn there and Uranus there, and that was just too much for Jupiter to try to compete with. That's just what I think. Um, but the Saturn stands out, because Saturn is opposing the Pluto, which is conjunct his MC. Pluto on the midheaven gives a very powerful status in the world. So if he was my client, he was, many years younger, I would probably predict that he could have a very powerful status in the world. He's going to have this presence. That's a wealth. Pluto can be a wealth signature as well. It's trine Jupiter, so that gives me even more reason to believe that he probably would be, have some money. But that's another video. But anyway, Saturn is opposing that, which is on his MC. So that was a big deal. Okay, so y'all see what I'm doing? A lot of things happening with the MC that's really, really important. So let's keep it moving. Diddy. I don't have his time of birth. Now, I wish somebody would get it because now I'm really curious to see what's happening. I'm really, really curious. But there was something happening in his chart that I felt like, oh, this might give some clue or some context that um some things may be going on. I would suspect that there may be a transit to his MC if we had his time. Um, I would suspect that. I wouldn't be surprised if um he had Capricorn or this Pluto was going over his MC or IC, but I wouldn't be surprised. But Pluto is going over his Mars. Now, normally, if I see that a transit, I would definitely caution a person to be careful, um, because this could be a very violent combination. And I will want them to make sure they handle this energy appropriately. So if you have this, especially in your chart, you see this with a lot of you can see these aspects, Pluto, Mars aspects with boxers or even, any type of competition. And it's important that they work out and they get that energy out in a constructive way, because if not, it can be in a very destructive way, or it can come to them in a destructive way. So we would talk about this destruction, the possibility of destruction, and this energy and what he's been doing with this energy. Now, he does not have this natally. He does not have um, a challenging aspect between Mars and Pluto natally. He does have a trine. Um, what I will say is, and I said I wasn't going to get into like natal chart stuff, but I will say this for him. He does have Mars square Venus and Jupiter. Um, and with the Mars and Venus square, this is a very, the sexual nature is strong. It is the desire, the appetite is big. And then when you put Jupiter in the mix, it just makes it even more. Now, again, I'm not saying that this is true that he's out here doing this stuff, but it does show his appetite. His sexual appetite is big. So whether that's how he experiments with that, that's his business. I'm not getting into that. But his appetite is big. Okay, but Pluto is there. um it is definitely aspecting that. Saturn is going to come up in aspect opposite his moon. Now I don't know his time of birth, so his moon could be a little bit further away, which I suspect that it is. So it can be a later degree. So that will be affected there. Okay, so let's trying to see if I see anything else. Now let's go to the next one. Now with Diddy, I did do his progress chart because I didn't have his time of birth, and I just wanted to show something that I felt like was a theme. His progress Mars is here, and it's in Pisces. It's not in a strong sign, but it's opposite his natal moon. And as I said in the previous slide, transiting Saturn is opposite natal moon. So we see this being hit or this occurring in the transit and progress chart. Again, I suspect that his moon may be, closer to this degree possibly. So yeah, I'm curious to know, what his midheaven is and what um house his moon rules and where Mars is in his chart. I'm curious. I'm so curious, y'all. Um, but we can see that there's something happening, something maybe on the horizon for him. Obviously, we've heard these things and seen these things, and his reputation it's really tarnished. Now, what happens with his career, I don't know, but his reputation is really tarnished. So it's definitely unfortunate. One of the other things too is looking at um, if he was a day chart or a night chart. Um, because in a day chart, Mars will be the most challenging planet. And so if that's being hit, there will be like, oh, this could be a very rough time period. Um, so anyway, there's a lot of factors that I will look at to see, you know, is this going to be a challenging year, a decent year, a productive year? This is clearly showing some challenges for him. This last chart, I did not put the person's information or picture up here because I just don't want to group them with everyone else because everything is speculation right now. And I just don't want to get into that. I don't want to throw anybody out there. I threw Diddy in there because the lawsuit had already came out. The allegations have already been put out there. So that's known. Everything else, um, the internet is just being internet. So I don't want to, again, condemn anybody just because of associations or because people get on lives and say stuff or whatever. So I just wanted to put this person's chart up here just to show you how this year may unfold for them, giving the energies that are there. So the first thing I notice is that Uranus is potentially opposite this person's moon. Because I don't have their time of birth, I don't know if the moon is in a later degree or earlier degree, but it's close to this. So potentially either went over it already or it's just about to come over it. And that shows some instability in the emotions. These shocking events is going to take an emotional toll on this person. Um, so Saturn will also square this person's sun this upcoming year. So again, it's suggesting some more challenges, some difficulties that this person may be experiencing. Um, Jupiter will come up in conjunct the sun. It will not be strong because it is in its opposite sign. So it rules Sagittarius and it rules Pisces, but it's going to be in Gemini. So it's not going to be strong. So it could help or it can exaggerate things a little bit more um, than what this person may want things to be. I noticed, and in Harvey Weinstein's chart, that there was also some Jupiter um, conjunct to the sun, and it didn't really help. So it really would depend on if there are any major transits going over MC in this chart or AC, the ascendant. I would really want to see that to see what effect Jupiter can have. Because if there are no other major planetary happenings or major points, then I would say that this person may come through. They won't be the same, but they may be able to pull through the allegations and everything that's happening. Um, but Saturn and Pluto breaks things up. It brings things to the surface. So we'll have to see what happens with this Saturn square. We'll have to see kind of what challenges this person will face. Will they be able to rise to the challenges and overcome it? But we definitely need to wait before we condemn people. I mean, right now it's so easy for people to just, make a statement and then they just run with it. And then we see what we want to see. People making different videos and, it's crazy. But this is going to take an emotional and mental toll on this person this upcoming year. So definitely, you know, sending out positive energy to everybody that's involved in this, any victims that are involved. I mean, it's just sad that everything that's being put out there and what's going on in Hollywood. Hollywood has always had like this Neptunian theme. That's why so much drugs and alcohol and suicides that happen in Hollywood, because it creates this illusion. And then with, Saturn now in Pisces, things are definitely coming in to tear all of that up, right? Saturn wants to bring structure. Saturn is not comfortable in Pisces at all. And then Pluto in Capricorn is breaking down these structures. Like, no, we need to break all of this down, demolish it so that we can rebuild it. Um, and Pluto is going to go into Aquarius, but it's going to come back into Capricorn. So it's not quite done yet. So if it is hitting anybody's MC points at 29 degrees, that you're going to feel it. So this next year will be very, very interesting. Hollywood is definitely being shooken up, and I think it will continue to be shooken up. Only men are depicted in this video, but I wonder if there will be women exposed like Ghislaine Maxwell was. Whether it's regarding, crimes or regarding people's pay, or something else. I just wonder if other people will be kind of grouped in, excuse me, with this stuff. We will definitely have to see what is going to happen. Because I'm getting this out late, I did not get the horoscopes done for 2024, but I am doing that, and that will be out hopefully early January. So please be on the lookout for the 2024 yearly horoscopes for all the signs. Um, I hope you all have a wonderful and happy new year. Be safe, be kind. Let's lead with love, y'all. Until then, peace, love, and light to everybody.